Right. Okay, Famblem. A very warm welcome and massive greetings from the Then and Now Media Empire platform. Obviously, today, June 6th, today, now Sunday, June 6th, 2021, and the site for Musa to speak from is about 8:54 in the evening, GMT time, and of course, time zones differ. And this now episode 3 of one of the major programs them on the Then and Now Media Empire platform. And again, once more, we will talk to my name here, Prince Emil Koma, and I get a very special guest where I go try for introduce very shortly soon, because after all, he's well known within the annals of social media, and he's a force for reckon with. He's very critical. He talks and he writes, and they can't help we for understand things that will make the news today. But just before I go to Fambulem, just a quick one. On yesterday, there was a major program held on this platform, which was titled APC in the Spotlight, which was anchored by Mohammed Supermed Kamara. By all meaning of the word, it was a brilliant sort of program. But of course, brilliant programs means that it divides opinion. Everybody gets the own side way they take. Some people saw it differently as opposed to other people and see them differently, depending on whose side you look at the same issue. So we get Boku review. Some were complaints and some were very serious. And some of them were accolades, were compliments for a well-held program. But we intend for look at all sides of the program. So one of the things that which was brought to our attention is a few people say that may not be like the way how the thing been set up. In other words, the criticism of Mr. Alfred P. Conte, the chief litigant, will take APC go to court. And we can understand that. But what you want for let family understand? Remember, say, I don't say we are looking into that. Every complaint that is made, we do look into it for try for see the merit and demerit of whatever complaints are filed to us or concerns expressed. Some of them were not even complaints, just concerns. But it does matter to we the Then and Now, because Then and Now is a work in progress. And even though we are not perfect, but we try for see how best we can come across so that everybody can come into this one pot place so that we were able to forge a way for go forward. So what I want for the family know is it's not about the platform, yesterday's program. It was about the guests, okay? And it was about the issues. So the man in question filed a complaint, a litigation. He brought litigation against his own party, okay? So my understanding is he was part and parcel of the planning of yesterday's program. He acceded, he agreed, say he go do the program, and my understanding and determine the date and the time, only enough for turn up. So it was an opportunity, even though he was being hit from left, right, and center, which was obvious. And that's why he was supposed to be on the program for defend himself and in Causeway they undertake. Unfortunately, he wasn't there. And there could be many, many reasons. But one thing when I find, you're kind of disrespectful, I must say, in this sense, is we live in a civilized world, and I know a lot of people will agree with me. If for some reason you're not turning up for an interview, which you have accepted, I mean, it's simple for send one line, apologies, I won't be able to make it for XYZ reasons. It's not force. You don't have to. But then you decided not to, but you sat in the background enjoying the scenery and then complain, or you people and complain about it. This we find unfair. But on a further note, the platform is open to everybody, including Mr. Conte. Should he want to rebut some of the things them said about him, the platform is open to run. This much I can say. Back to ground zero. Today, we get with brother Aiah Padante Thomas, a well-known social media critic, social media commentator, and analyst. And on this program here called The Week in Review, in which we look at things that will make the headlines. We make the headlines. So it's a once-a-week program, and it's held every Sunday at about this time. Family will be supposed to be two. Unfortunately, we are not. There are not two guests as we anticipate, because the other guests being get for pull out last minute to time because of some other reasons beyond his control. But that's fully understood. So we want to go straight to Brother Aiah P. Thomas. Yeah, welcome to the program, brother.
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Kroma. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Yeah, let me go straight into chatting real issues. And because we'll not get much time, we want to make sure that we do this program under an hour, at most an hour. So I want to go to the issues of non-partisan local elections. You know, I just mentioned them as such, but the implications, the ramification, what do you mean? You're not an analyst, you're not a critic. As soon as we mention non-partisan local elections, of course, it begin to ring something that you heard. Give me an idea, a perception, a perspective from your end as to what this supposed for me.
All right, so non-partisan local elections simply means that the government, they try for implement laws them, electoral laws them, we will prevent political parties from having a specified candidate in the race. So for example, you've got a mayor in Freetown, that mayor, they want contest for that position. They not able to contest under SLPP or APC. They will be contesting under no political party. They'll contest freely, but there's no political party where they will contest under. That is what the government is trying to push through. But the saddest thing about this non-partisan local council elections, particularly, is that this is already happening. We already get existing provisions where they allow you, Mr. Kroma, me, Aiah P. Thomas, to stand for any position of the country as an independent person, candidate. All right, we already have that. So if you want to contest as a councillor, you want to contest as a mayor, you can do that right now by contesting without contesting under a political party. You can do that. So now that make a lot of people, a lot of political parties, then very, very concerned about what really the government is trying to achieve by this, because this is a duplication. We already have pre-existing laws that allows the same thing what the government is trying to do. But what the government is trying to say is that, for example, what we have in Freetown, the government is saying that what we have in Freetown, Freetown is the central district, business district of the country. Now, if you get a political party, when an opposition political party, and I'm not citing this for hold anybody responsible, but I'm just citing what is happening right now in Freetown as a brighter example. We have an APC mayor in Freetown, all right? And Freetown, we know predominantly Freetown over the past 10, 15 years has been APC dominated. So that what does that mean is that even the councillors, the local council is dominated by the opposition. And we know, say, whether APC and SLPP, they don't work together very well. You understand? Where this is in our power, this is undermine this one. This is where APC be in our power, SLPP they undermine them. Where SLPP in our power now, the expectation, the assumption is that, natural assumption is that APC they undermine them. You understand? So what is the government they try for do now for set off something we will prevent that from happening? So whichever government within our power, the council no go undermine the progress. You have to remember that the council now the front line, of politics, now the front line of really linking up with people like councillors, people in your community, now somebody where you know, now somebody where everybody know in localities. If that person they no one work with the government of the day, then a trouble for the government of the day. If the mayor, for example, you have the mayor as an opposition, that mayor does not want to work with the government of the day. Now, very big issue. If the government of the day no one work with that mayor, just because they under a political party, then what will happen? The masses then they suffer. The government of the day will say, okay, this person are APC, we are SLPP, we only get enough resources. For example, and I keep saying Freetown because Freetown are the brightest example we able to cite. Yeah. Whatever we all don't see on audio, on video, where the mayor Akino Sawyer don't mention, say, in the old the fourth for APC right now. APC opposition right now is defined by her office. You understand?
Yeah.
When she does great things, it benefits APC enormously. We've heard her say that. You understand? So what does that mean in terms of how SLPP get for look at it? What that means is that SLPP look at it and say, but wait, so you get Freetown being a predominantly APC voters, predominantly, majority of the seats, majority of voters, then they vote for APC. That's what it has been. And what usually they happen at Freetown, they resonate with what happen at State House. Okay, it happens because the voters, the voting at Freetown, most times they determine who I get for Sidon at State House. And we've seen it in 2018. 2018, President Bio won the general election, but he didn't win the parliament. You understand? The parliament, majority of the seats were initially APCs. You understand? Majority of the councillors in the entire country were initially APCs. So what that means is that if APC really want to do damage to President Bio in government, then go make sure so they stall out whatever progress they bring, and then they go no side. It will be stalled. So this is what the government's argument is, you know. But and what did the government also say? Because of that, so if you have two opposing sides where they will try to undermine each other, what happens is that as citizens that they suffer. You and I will suffer as a result of it. So the government is saying that the people shouldn't be suffering. The other countries who implemented similar things, you understand? They say our people shouldn't be suffering as a result. So what the government is asking for, let's remove partisan politics from local council elections. So we'll wipe out all this other holdback, all this other undermining, all this other sabotage really happen. You understand? And it's been going on for a long time. But I don't think that is the solution, Brother Prince. I don't think that is the solution. I think the manner in which the government to do them, it's not gonna work. I think you go still get people in left, for example, Mayor Sawyer go contest as a contest under the party. Yeah, he go contest. Yep. Flag APC banner. But people know as APC. You understand? APC political party will still do it with the talk about her. But when I will vote for that woman, you understand? They'll still talk about her. Go and vote for Mayor Sawyer. You understand? Yes, she's not standing there as a political party, but APC is campaigning for her. They'll run a campaign for her, they'll run rallies for her to still win that seat. So it still defies the purpose. There's not going to be any law to say, we'll run rallies. We'll support any candidate you want to support. There's not going to be any law like that. It's just going to be a law to say you cannot contest under a political party.
Okay, yeah, Bokutinde for let me cover. And I think you said much on this issue, but I want to ask you one or two things on the particular issue, where probably you can use 30 seconds, 45 seconds for just wrap up. You said there have been existing laws, especially when it comes to the issue of non-partisan local elections. Yes, there have been. And one critical thing where you say what I pick up from is the two parties, they try for outsmart each other. When one in a power, the other one try for do this, the other one try for do that, which is quite true. So I want to speculate. You cannot follow speculating then and now, but sometimes it is necessary speculating. So the local election, non-partisan local elections, where one side they try for press on with. Why are people saying, the other side, they say no to that? What are the advantages and disadvantages? I guess that's what you wanted to speak to before I butted in.
The advantage is for Sierra Leoneans. I believe there's a huge advantage for Sierra Leoneans because it diminish the undermining, the sabotage where they happen, and it's happening at all levels. People and they wouldn't even employ them as public servants, where they undermine the government of the day because they don't want to see progress. You understand? We've seen people cutting down cables, they're stealing transformers and stuff because then they undermine the government of the day. They don't want to let government of the day say we'll provide electricity for the entire Freetown. They don't want that to happen because what that happens is that Bio will get more votes. The opposition will get more votes because that has happened. They've achieved so much. And that's the positive.
So by that logic, that will imply, like, for example, President Bio in power now, SLPP in power. Will you dare say now the APC or other opposition people then they undermine President Bio in terms of cutting wires and etc.? Let not appear like say they succeed.
I think it's reasonable to assume that SLPP members will not go and undermine their own party.
Yeah,
I think I'm very comfortable to assume that. I wouldn't say it's APC, but I would say it's the opposition. You understand? Opposition, and they will do that. And I also say that sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go on, please.
I will also say there is hardship in the country, economic hardship. It will not necessarily be political that those people are doing that. They call that for women pots. Some of these guys don't even care about politics. They want to live every day. So, and it's hard. Things are hard for them. So they do that. But I think those that are really done on a very, how do I say it? They're done on retributively, like really maliciously, a targeted destruction. They target certain area for make sure say a whole area cut electricity cut. I think is politically motivated, and I am very comfortable to assume that it is not politically motivated. It's not done by SLPP members.
So I go agree with you largely on what you say, because it does make a lot of sense. But will issues of that nature as well, as per percentage, maybe minute in number, we can also ascribe that to economic problems like difficulties, like people go resort, because the idea of survival itself is how to survive. And the idea that there is economic difficulties, people are finding it difficult in tending to their day-to-day life, they can result to many things them way socially no appreciated or applicable na the national society. In other words, indulge in criminal activities, crime, because some of this is just actual criminal activity.
Yeah. Look, I see it. I agree with you on that front. That it gets economic hardship undertone to the behavior that is happening. And you look at the video of some of these boys that have been held and found the culprits. You see and say they're vulnerable already. Even when you hear them speak about it, you see that the vulnerability on them. People could use them, but it could also be that they're using it because they need to survive. They need to survive. So what does that say to the government? Yeah. It sends a very strong message to the government that the government need for do something about the economy. We just focus on one thing. That the opposition, they do this, they try to undermine me, they try for this. But the government needs to put eye on the economy and see how they can shape that. And I want to give you a quick example, Brother Chroma. Is when Anes took over in 2007. Anes started the Bunguna hydro. It restarted it. You understand? Which is really working efficiently for those people in the region now. What happened? The first cable where them put, you understand? People in other villages them along where those cables are passed from Makeni Tego Reach. You understand? Then they cut them cable and they for make pots. You understand?
Okay, yeah. I go put today and fambulem this now a very program concerning the week in review will bring come up, and it's objectively been held as soon as Mr. Thomas in point them. Of course, salient points backed by kind of evidence, whether circumstantial or physical, but it makes so much logic. And now we can see economic constraints where we can make people go into them kind of an action in it, because people need for survive. But only because of time constraints, I make a pause, but the point is well noted. Mr. Thomas, I also want to go to the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Mrs. Fatima Bio. Mrs. Fatima Bio, before I go for the question, give me an overview, again, a perspective of yours in terms of this very First Lady of ours, where I believe come from the same region as you, without emotions, please.
Mrs. Fatima Bio, I have to make a declaration or whatever you call it. She's a very She's somebody that I consider very special to me. I consider as a sister. So, but my views will be as liberal as I possibly can. Look, I think Fatima Bio is exceptional in the sense that she's young, vibrant. Yes, you could say Patricia Kaba was very young, vibrant as well. That's true. But what I mean when I say she's exceptional is that she's the only first lady we don't break through the norms. You understand? When you talk about norms, there's certain things that Sierra Leone has as norms in terms of cultures and values and expectations. And that make a lot of people find out very confronting. Norms in the sense, women are usually positioned at the back of the men. All right. So we don't get, for the first time, we don't get the first lady really speak louder than the president. You understand? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'm just waiting to pose my challenge.
All right. We've got a first lady that speaks louder than the president. We've got a president. And I want to go back a little bit, if you allow me. During the elections, there was no louder voice in SLPP in terms of the hierarchies. There was no louder voice than Fatima Marabiu. There was no louder voice. She was campaigning head and toe with her husband. She campaigned in Sierra Leone, she campaigned internationally, she went to the UK, she went to the US, but people don't realize that, you see, because there's all the election things that go on. So it's not only now that she has surfaced, she was there, you understand? So when they won, she actually took her own place as a first lady. She started off the Hands of Our Girls campaign. My brother, I have been in Sierra Leone, I was there for a whole year. There is no town along the way from Freetown to Kono we know the see Hands of Our Girls sign. There is no town along the way from Freetown to Kenema. We know the see Hands of Our Girls alongside. There is no town from Freetown to how they call this place, going towards Guinea. How they call that place?
So the long and short of all of Thomas is this Hands of Our Girls, of course, by virtue of the power force within Vietnam, is it covered the length and breadth of the country. I guess that's where we're going.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It is the campaign that has been more successful than any other campaign in the history, population campaign in the history of Sierra Leone. Anybody to cite one example of public campaign we have as Hands of Our Girls?
Okay. I'm not going to dispute that. I will introduce different evidence going further into this conversation about the First Lady regarding the Hands of Our Girls and waiting they help or mitigate the morality as opposed with the Vietnam and the popularity with the Vietnam and the good intentions with the Vietnam, but the negative side of her. But I want to go on to the First Lady and the reason why I ask you the question, because yes, I will agree with you that she's broken norms. But norms can be positive and can be negative. Norms can be good, norms can be bad. So let me say the First Lady broke some norm. In other words, in a patriarchal society, here you find a matriarch, here making all of the noise. Obviously, that will not go down well. But that depends on what she's saying. She's not an elected official. Can we draw a line between the elected, who will say, formulate policies and determine where it is going, as opposed to she being in the background and being the wife of the president, still dictating the issue, but at the back, because she was not elected. That's the bottom line, Mr. Thomas.
I agree with you totally. I think a line should be drawn, a very, very visible line should be drawn.
Okay. I also want to say this, Mr. Thomas, based on what you say earlier, which is quite true.
About that. What say show?
Yeah, sorry, you say something. I lost you briefly, and I kind of tried.
No, it's okay. You keep going. I will combine.
Okay. I also want talk around something where you say earlier on again regarding the First Lady that most people did not notice that during the campaign she was always out there. She was a voice out there. She was a face out there. And I will agree with that as well. In fact, as we speak now, they compile a documentary where we get for play out to the general public on the First Lady, on Fatima Bio then, and the First Lady now. So it is true that it be always there out there, it be the talk. But there's something which has changed, Brother Aiah, and this is probably something where you may need for reflect on. So while she was there, out there campaigning, she was humble. Go back and watch the videos. She was a very humble woman. And because she's got that presence, she won the hearts and minds of others. They followed, they listened. But there is a difference when she became a first lady. There is now aggression. Whether it's positive or negative aggression is yet to be determined by the people. There is interference. There is space, taking up your space, and determined and sometimes outright provocative from a first lady who is supposed to be the mother of the nation. In other words, Mr. Thomas, the first lady prior to become first lady was a humble woman. The videos speak. See her sitting, like I said, with a compiler. After the elections, she's a completely different woman. She will call the press and she will use language, uncouth language, I must say. There's no need for paper to crack over this. And I'm sure, say, Mr. Thomas, you've been following that. But as a very clever man, probably you will get away for defend the first lady again.
Look, I agree with you that there's been some changes, all right? But you know, the gender issue is a very big issue with the blind, all of us. We are not accustomed to a woman else. Let me give you an example. There's been several women who've stood up in Sierra Leone. You understand? People have always objected to them. They've always rejected them. I'm going to give you examples that you know, you and I know. The first paramount chief of Sierra Leone, the female paramount chief, Ella Kablo, I think the last name was, she was rejected.
Koblo,
you understand? She was rejected by Sierra Leoneans. Koblo, yes, she was rejected by Sierra Leoneans. You understand? She's a big fighter, and now she goes in history books. But she was rejected. You understand? If you go through her history, how she fought to get to where she is, she fought like 20 times harder than any man. You understand? To be recognized, because she had something to offer. If you look at, let's look at somebody like Sylvia Blyden, for example. I mean, I don't call her man, I don't call her Rari girl. You know, like it is happening every day. You look at the Auditor General, yeah, the Auditor General. Then they curse her every day because she's doing her job. Now flip that around and look at the men. All them man they waiting on there now, them key position where they don't use reckless words, like make reckless statements. They've been able to carry to go ahead with it. You understand? What I'm saying is that I'm not saying the first lady is not without fault. That's not what I'm saying. She's young. She's only in her 40s. She's very young. You understand? She's bound to make mistakes. She's not perfect. She needs to have better advisors around her to tell her, hey, look, when it comes to publicity, you need to be careful there. You need to mind your words there. You need to understand the dynamic of Sierra Leone, our cultural values, our expectations. You need to factor that into your reaction. I have told her that. You understand? But
she did not listen. Yeah, that's the thing. So there's a possibility not they listen to the others, and this is where the problem is. So people will tell them, well, something is gone to the head as opposed to the reaction and seeing yourself as right. But no, she is the first lady of the country. Certain languages is a no. She needs to understand that.
But they said politics does not, it doesn't change you. Politics never changes people. You understand? So people are saying that, oh, she's changed. I think her real self has been manifested. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah. I must mention this, that I'm a little bit surprised. I'm a little bit surprised that I'm a little bit surprised that you say that, because let's talk a little bit of philosophy, because the philosophy now you talk to, you know, they say, well, a borrowed on philosophy. Like, the fact is, power corrupts a man. This is why I mentioned the earlier part of the First Lady, before she became First Lady. We need to look and study in persona, how she carried herself, okay? A standing on ground, and she was a champion of many things, but watch the attitude. Nothing I don't study closely, you know, because I try to figure this out. And now that she's First Lady, Watch the facial expressions, how she expressed. Now, that thing that now you need for look at, these are social attributes, how it expresses itself, the way how it
I'm looking at them.
the lines that in face,
brother
all
Prince,
are indicative
let me say this
of
to you.
something that she has become, which she wasn't or was suppressing.
I honestly believe she's just been revealed. I don't think there's enough videos to compare to before she was first lady. I don't think there is enough. I look at, but there is not enough to look at before she was. You know, the videos you're mentioning, if you look at them, they'll probably not be up to 10. You understand? They'll probably not be up to 10. I haven't seen what you're looking at, but I can tell you with confidence.
But Mr. Thomas, she was really not a private.
Let me land.
She was really not a private individual, by the way. Let me land. Her videos are all out there.
I know, but she was not. I know she was not. Yes, but in terms of personal videos that we're talking about, she's sitting there talking, addressing certain issues. There is not that many of them. You understand? There are professional ones about, our cast and being a Hollywood movie star and stuff like that. But a personal one, like we see her sitting there doing live videos talking about day-to-day issues, there's not that many of them. But in terms of our behavior and how people look at it, my genuine view is that she needs to be moderated. I think she needs to moderate. I think there has to be a point that she looks back, and I think she's done that a bit over the past 2 months. And she's done little live videos over the past 2 months. If you can follow her every day. She's done very little video, and I think whoever is advising her is doing a fantastic job. Because the more you do,
we get much more things there for cover. And even first lady, we're not done with it, so please don't take this differently because I come in again. But I still want to chat a little bit of a game about the first lady, and then we move to the other things. So yes. You seem to be, very conservative when it comes to the first lady. I must kind of say this, and I'm not blaming you. This could be part of the advisory tactic, which could be very well true. But Mr. Thomas, probably there's been a change, maybe publicly, but inside, because we still get word from the inside. There are many other things that are going on. Remember, waiting happened, possibly pulled by the president, pulled by the advisors, because things were really going bad. There were reports over the council of corruption, massive corruption, where they sit on a tape and deny. And then it turned out for me say, yes, but waiting and say so, it's true. And waiting you they say, or waiting you be say, it's not true. So there were many, many catastrophic, strategic, and tactical blunders. So it's like, take a leave, left this public talk, because every time you talk, it causes problem. Could that be the case?
I think the first lady in I didn't call her Sowie, in Sowie na Cherova. Cherova, the first lady. Cherova. Every first lady run away come on her Facebook, because if you look at it, she has never been derailed. She's been there constantly, no matter the insults, the attacks. She's always been there. The only person we would drive, not only drive first lady in her face, but social media. He also drive the special communication unit. So whatever they call themselves at State House.
I guess when we come on a special program, I believe they talk about the inland cans and coal.
The frontier.
Yeah, exactly. We can talk about that because it's going to be tied to how strategic is the strategic communication team. Yeah.
So all those guys, they see them again at Facebook because of one person. The guy just starts, so there's definitely been an impact, and it's sad to see that the level of complicity, the level of cover-ups, it is very heart-wrenching to see. I feel very sad for Sierra Leoneans, because I was one of those persons who had very high hopes for the Bill government, to see them that now they are, even when there's allegation, they're not making it clear to people where they stand. They're denying it really aggressively. They don't even want the discussion to go on. You understand? They're discouraging the discussion. Imagine a whole government, they say, our policy is that we don't respond to Chernobyl. How can the government say we don't respond to allegations that have got substances? You know, they've got evidences all over the place, bank transactions showing and so forth.
Because you not
How
getting
can you say?
So incontrovertible is the evidence, so tangible, so cogent that you not get a response. So the best thing you can say is, well, we not respond to that because there's no response.
But that's unacceptable.
Yes,
because the government is a representative of the people. They're not there on their own account.
There are many things for them to cover. It also borrowed on the behavior of the First Lady. You spoke to something really powerful, and I do agree with that largely, but waiting Akin for critique is I like for look at intention. I like for look at how, time, if, when, but, you know, those critical things the way you can use for analyze a situation. So yes, it is true that this First Lady, Mrs. Fatima Jabibio, has broken some norms. It don't shatter glass ceilings. Some of them, you know, are not very acceptable, and acceptable in the sense is like, well, no, this is quite wrong. But some others are, yes, not just because of a patriarchal society, they can't allow a matriarch for become, you know, that kind of a dominant force. So let me look at in role as First Lady. There are many things or many examples I can cite to, but I'll just go to the Russian example and a few others coming down. So if you remember some time ago, the President, His Excellency, retired Brigadier Julius Marabio, paid a visit at the behest of the Russian President Vladimir Putin to Russia. There are protocols, and this is the point I'm trying to make, Mr. Thomas. There are protocols around this. At that meeting, as the heads of states and their wives were entering the hall, protocols were being observed or should have been observed, with First Lady being there on social media, actually went live and they record the incident. That sounded like a schoolgirl just don't pass how they call a selective entrance. They go secondary school with good grades they anticipate. Yeah, she was absolutely excited. That was a no-no. Probably you have a different view. But we can down again. Many of these has happened in which the First Lady is always on the phone, on social media. Mina, the greatest fan, Mina, this. There's nothing wrong with you saying that. It's probably usa you they say that, how you they say that, and when you they say that. For example, she's on TikTok. I wonder what's your view about all of this. Give me your view again, please.
I tell you what, I saw that video. And I was shocked. I was like, I thought, you know, maybe it was, video shots or something. You know, I thought it was a joke. I think it was very inappropriate. I think, in my personal views, I think it was very inappropriate that that was done in that manner, and also other dignitaries were videoed as they worked. You know, in that, and I'm not sure consent was sought for that. I think it was just done abruptly, and I think it can be done better. You know. Yeah. And I'm with you on that, totally with you on that. I think there are diplomatic protocols that must be observed. Absolutely. You know, we never see such videos outside, never. Even their official coverage that is done for those programs never show those kind of things.
No.
You understand? They're limited as to the content that is revealed to the general public. In terms of, our First Lady's awareness about those limitations, I don't know about that. But what I can say from looking at it, sitting where I'm sitting, I was shocked. I was shocked to the core to see it. And I think other countries may be looking at that and thinking and frowning at it and saying, hey, what's going on there?
Absolutely.
You know, and that's something that, and that's, again, I said to you that there is no man is an island. When you become a leader, why do you think somebody becomes a president that knows nothing about economics? How do you turn the economy around when you know nothing about it? How do you make sure agriculture flourishes when you know nothing about agriculture? How do you know all those things? You don't get to know everything about it. What you do is that you surround yourself with people who've got those knowledge. You understand? People who've studied those things, who can advise you and say, hey, look, Mr. Man, my lady, this is how this is. I think the First Lady should put in more time and effort into attracting resources, people who are very resourceful, who know, who can advise in certain areas. She cannot be the champion of everything. You understand? Because it's impossible. She needs to surround herself by people who can advise her and say, hey, you really cannot do this. This is so wrong. You understand? And they can say to her, okay, if you feel like you need to do this next time, just video it and we come and have a look at it before you publish it, and we'll determine whether it should be published or not. You understand? Somebody needs to sit there and say to her, you're not Fatima Bio, the Hollywood star anymore. You're Fatima Bio, the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone. There's a certain standard, the expectations. You cannot say you're doing this. And I think, to be very genuine, one of the misconceptions our First Lady has is that she believes, she said that several times on videos, that my Facebook private page is my personal. Nobody can tell me what to do. And that's separate from being a First Lady. You understand? You cannot say Donald Trump had his own personal Twitter and Facebook account. You understand? That is where he announced policies. You understand? There's nothing private anymore when it comes to your private page.
No,
there is
except you keep it private. But once it's not private, people get to know about it. You are public.
Yes. So your views there are reflective of your status as the First Lady. You cannot dissociate
from a social media page.
Exactly. Whether it is your private phone, whether official First Lady, it doesn't matter. Your views in the public sphere are reflective, represent your status as the First Lady of the country. Period.
Absolutely.
There is no other way. So I think she needs to come to terms with that. She needs to understand that that's the reality. And moving forward, there are things that she definitely can't do. There are things she can do, but there are things that it cannot happen.
Absolutely, Mr. Thomas, you are spot on, and I like this. These are frank discussions, and I hope the First Lady is listening. I mean, there is so much that she can offer, but she needs to understand how that offer can be made. There are protocols around the position that she occupies now, and she needs to listen to advisors. She needs to bring people around her who are able to checkmate her and say, no, you cannot do this. Not people that will just salute and say, yes, oh, you're right. Oh, the best First Lady. You are fooling yourselves, Madam First Lady. I mean yourself, because these same people, and I then will explain different story about you tomorrow. We've seen this happen many times. There is so much that you can offer, but you need to make an about face turn. Ladies and gentlemen, today, the 6th of June, 2021, on the third episode of the News in Review, News that will make the headline, I'm having with me a very special guest, Mr. Aiah Padante Thomas, where they help we for understand what he make the news, how he make the news, why he make the news. And it's been interesting, so far, no disappointment, I suppose. I want to go to this quickly. This alleged sale of a rainforest, 250 acres. And in fact, this, whilst it sounds like allegations, but I've seen major MSNs, mainstream medias, carry this report about the Chinese and the buying, and the idea that this deal was wrapped in secrecy is one that people supposed to raise their eyebrows and express concern about. What say you, Mr. Thomas?
Firstly, Brother Prince, is that not a secret? During the State of the Nation's address, the president mentioned in a parliament, all right? The president mentioned it in parliament, and he mentioned the amount. That's $55 million. You understand? And then I tell you what, I like to explain things for somebody who one day go school, say, for make you understand. I want to put this into context. When you buy land in Sierra Leone, that particular part of Sierra Leone right now, if you go buy one town lot today, you probably pay up to 40 million. That's $4,000. You understand? If you buy a beachfront land, you pay as much as $15,000 per town lot. Understand? I know that. I know that very well because I know people who've done it. I've bought mine as well. So if you put that into context alone, you do the calculations, what that comes to about, the land that has been sold for 55 million, what that comes about, it sends a warning signal to Sierra Leone. Not to say Sierra Leone want development. No, you understand? Sierra Leone is one development, but Sierra Leone is the one development we know will sell the country to another country. We've seen countries in Africa where they don't lose their port. Their seaport has been lost because they've taken so much money. The Chinese claimed it. You understand? We've seen the former president of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli, we say now mad say Chinese loans and agreements that for the mad dogs of Africa. You understand? So we have to be extremely careful. We welcome any sort of development, embracing, but selling instead of leasing. Is that a big difference between Ernest Bai Koroma and President Bio? Do you know that their lands at Lumley, where President Koroma lease out to foreigners? You understand? But what does that mean? The power and authority still remains with citizens, with the country. You understand? Because it is still ours. Even if you lease out for 50 years, whatever you construct there in that 50 years will belong to the country when you're asked to leave. You understand? But when you sell it, you've actually given part of the country to foreigners. You understand? So yes, they said open a fishery there, which is going to provide employment, which is going to assist the country's national development, is going to ensure that economic progress come about, and so on and so forth. But everybody now, they focus on the sale of the land. The sale of that land is something that hasn't gone down well. I am very displeased, to be honest. I am very displeased to see that the pride that the president takes in selling it. You understand? If you watch the president in parliament, he was extremely proud of it. You understand? He was extremely proud of it. But that said, the details of that particular deal hasn't been made public. So there's a lot of information that we don't know. You understand? There's a lot of details that we don't know.
Again, because of time constraint, let me see whether we're able to push 1, 2, 3 things on this alleged sale of land to the Chinese.
It's not an alleged sale, it's been sold.
Yes, say again, please.
It's been sold. It's not alleged, it's been sold. Yes.
Good. But here's the point. Here's the point here. Thank you. I know it's been sold. Okay?
That's what the president said. It's been sold.
It's been sold. But here is the thing, and this now mentioned regarding the secrecy around the deal, and you say, no, it wasn't secret because the president spoke of it in parliament. But here's the thing. Here's what's critical here. When the president made this declaration, as opposed to when the deal itself, pen being put on paper or ink being put on paper, and deals of this kind, normally, I believe, should go parliament, not to the other way around. This is why I describe them as shrouded in secrecy. Help me to understand that. Waiting and not a get right on this, because they look confused.
Let me rephrase. When I said it's not secret, I meant that it's not secret that the president has said it's sold. But in terms of the nitty-gritties of the deals, nobody knows. Yes, I agree with you. This level of engagement with foreigners, or level of an agreement between Sierra Leone government. Imagine President Bio is a president for a term. You understand? So whatever deals he runs, that is a deal between the government and foreign government or foreign investors, it is something that needs to be go through the parliament.
Absolutely.
You understand? Yes. To make sure all the checks and balances are done, to make sure the interest, because parliamentarians represent the interest of the masses. Yep. You understand? So that is why they're there, to make sure that those checks and balances. So if the president goes ahead and comes to the parliament and says, well, I don't sell this piece of land, this beachfront, this rich land, we've sold it for 55 million to foreigners. It is a shocking thing that I think and every Sierra Leonean should be concerned about. You know, it should have gone through parliament. It should have been gazetted for the entire country to know. It should be public document. okay, this proposition has come through, the government is looking at it, these are the details. So the Minister of Information should have come through to talk about it. Minister of Finance should have talked about the financial aspect of it. You understand? Other parts ministry should come and talk to us, talk to the citizens. You've seen this in overseas, you understand? When we have oil deals, when Russia has oil gas deals with
Germany,
with Germany, you understand? They talk about it for years.
Yes,
everybody knows their papers on government websites, on both government website, on is made public. They talk about it, you see it, you know the details, you understand? And then they go through the parliament, they debate it, exhausted, they go and readjust, renegotiate and everything, and then it goes through.
Usa come up from England, Usa Sidonia. When people like can say you take the piece, mean, I mean, you not take we seriously. But I can say this much. Thank you so much for that, because you provide a new insight and a new enthusiasm in this talk. But I don't think Sierra Leoneans should take this line down, and I don't think they are taking this line down, because normally government just thinks that they can get away with this. But I can tell you, there are a group of people coming together to file a class action, and probably they may soon be talking to you, because they rally the British government, rally the American government, because remember, in this fight, when you look at from a geopolitical sense, the West are not happy with that, so they form a natural ally if the citizens can come to them with something methodic. So that's been worked on. A class action will definitely be brought, because that cannot be right, and we see a lot of this.
And I want to say something. I want to say something to the government. I feel say there are certain things that the government does that is good thing. There are certain things that you do that is a fantastic thing. Maybe Sierra Leoneans will even say, yes, Salam. You understand? If you know the details, maybe Sierra Leoneans will even support it. That's where I come back to where you say about secrecy. And the importance for the government to open up, to speak to citizens, to sort the approval, the consent of citizens when they're doing certain things, so that citizens are part of it. You understand? They can contribute their own views. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. Not necessarily. Some sales are not necessarily a bad thing.
No, not
you understand?
Really.
But it's the manner in which it has been done. The government need to be open to citizens. It need to use the media. It need to use the communicate, whatever way they can communicate with citizens. For let citizens understand, say, this now we don't know the power. So there's so many misconception, misinformation that will come out of her. People will understand the truth. They need to release information to the public. You can't keep everything at State House. Release some information to the public. This is for your interest. Maybe some of us will even go and promote it. Say, you need to understand.
Sticking on the same issue in a different industry. Just quickly, if you can weigh in, you come up from a mineral-rich district. Again, another deal shrouded in secrecy. They talk about SL mining. So there seems to be a pattern. We go make now with the ask question, but why are these deals shrouded in secrecy? Me and you, Yeri, opposition parliamentarian and Komo, for pull these secrets come on do. It's not like it went to them. It was something that shocked themselves, as we understand. And then come out and talk whilst the mining already they go on. Explain to we quickly, but we quickly they run out of time, and a few other things then we get to.
You know, in terms of SL mining and all the litigations and everything for do with I initially supported it. I supported the government, Minister Rado, Minister of Finance, the then Minister of Mines, Rado Yoki, for making pursue this. You know why? When I went to my homeland, I saw mountains that were never there before. I thought they were mountains the first time I went to Kono. And somebody says to me, yeah, these are not mountains. These are your lands being ripped apart and they've been dug miles underneath.
I like the way you put that. If you say mountains, they go.
Yes. And the saddest thing about it is that people were moved, graveyards were moved, schools were moved, so that these mining activities can be undertaken.
Can go on.
You understand? The the center of Koidu City, the center is called Opera. When they are blasting, it shakes, houses shakes, and they start crumbling.
Wow.
You understand? No amount of money should allow anybody to do this. And this started during the EBK days, by the way. I have to say it started during the EBK days. You understand? The people are impoverished. The people are poorer than even before. You understand? So I don't see the benefits in it. So I was very supportive that, you cannot come and mine and then pay very little to Sierra Leoneans. You're paying less than 1% or 2% to Sierra Leoneans. Then you're taking everything away, enriching yourself. I thought that it was a fantastic idea for the mining contracts agreements to be reviewed. I still support that. Yeah. But what I think is that
I supported that as well.
Yeah. I think that what happened is that the way the government went about it, it didn't take into consideration the legal implication internationally. You understand? The government did the right thing, but they did it in the wrong way. It was the right decision, but it was implemented the wrong way. You cannot just brutally go out, cancel your license, this contract's in place. The international laws.
Yeah, I would challenge you on this because I see myself the same way that then contracts and they were useless. They're not been a benefit we as the people of the country, the citizens of the country. So hence when the president revoked that, I'm public on that. When the president revoked those licenses, I was a happy man because I know say out of the new license then we go come out, it will be beneficial to the country and its people. But it now seems, because we get the benefit of hindsight, that wasn't the intention at all. It was always selfishly driven, Mr. Thomas.
I disagree with that view.
Yeah, of course, why not? Let's hear why.
I thought it was done in the best interest of Sierra Leone. I genuinely believe, I spoke to the minister on several occasions. I've been on platforms I think it was on VOS with him. You understand? I think it was done to ensure that you don't have 99 years licensing agreements with mining companies where you've got 2-3%. You understand? I think it was ridiculous. I think it was done out of desperation during the IBK days. You understand? Okay. I agree with that. What I don't agree with is the manner in which it was done. The abrupt manner in which they said, okay, we're canceling this now. This is not up. Let me give you an example. The land issue, the land sales issue that we've discussed before is an example. A government, bio government is signing a deal, selling the land. When another government comes to power, come 2023 or beyond, another government comes to power, they will be obliged to honor those deals. You can't just go and cancel it. You'll be obliged to honor those deals. That is why governments need to liaise. They need to follow due processes. Those processes are there.
I'm gonna pause you there. We've got only 10 minutes, brother. This is so important, a conversation, national conversation. I wish we didn't get more time because you are absolutely right on that. I agree with you 110% if it's mathematically possible. Government has to follow due process, my brother. With due process, you cannot go wrong because governments come and go, but the country or the people remain. So what do you make you forget? Foresight, fortitude, for think about the future. But we get 10 more minutes here. This one, I want to let you answer in 30 seconds. Regarding all this money, what we talk about, where you say, like, for example, the center of Kono is known as Opera. When they do them blasting a day and all the schools that they've shifted, churches, homes. In other words, that's social cleansing, by the way, moving people from their respective homes and they shift them elsewhere. I understand that the demography of Kono has changed. Kono is no longer the same in terms of political savviness and age-wise, the new people in Kono, which are youthful just like yourself and even less. If this is the case, waiting people from Kono or the country for the expect, is it going to be business as usual or is there going to be a seismic shift?
I give you an example. Iran has been isolated for several years, for several decades by the international community, but they still managed to produce nuclear weapons. North Korea has been isolated, they've been limited economically, they've been starved, but they still get nuclear weapons today. They acquire the technology. You know why? When you push people to the brink, they start fending for themselves.
Yeah.
You understand? That is what is happening to Kono. Yeah, Kono is the opposite. You understand? They've been pushed so much that Imagine Konon and the breadbasket of Sierra Leone. It still is. You can't deny it. But they've been pushed so much that, I mean, like, they've reverted. The people have become stronger. When you deal with them, they're stronger. If you go on social media today, they are very active on social media about everything that's happening in Konon.
Okay, yeah. It was meant to be 30
happening.
seconds, and I know say the answer will expand because it's never really enough. And I wish I would get time for ask you more and the political change as well regarding the political structure, the party C4C, Samsumana, a man whom you support. But I do agree with you. And at the bottom line, when I mean they try for ghetto, and waiting you chat just now is again philosophical. This comes from the Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu. It's about the art of war. You push a people against the wall, you know, left an exit point. Of course, they'll come back at you. They can't go through the wall. But let's see what happens. Mr. Thomas, the ACC. I mean, there is a huge pile of things that we can talk about the ACC, but just a quick one. Recently, after all of which you would only we make the ACC commissioner look like a conflicted man, as I can always say, it seemed for the prosecute high-profile people that are associated with the president and his wife. In other words, if you put the Fatima Bio and Mara Bio Foundation together, people that we found them, and other senior key ministers, waiting they go on quickly, please. Is it a kind of redemption and cleansing? Because if you follow them people a day, that trail they might lead you somewhere uncomfortable. But quickly, what's going on with the ACC boss?
I want to tell you about the ACC boss. I've known him personally. You understand? I went to the same school with him for several years. He was my junior, but I went to the same school with him. Me and Big Brother stood in the same class for several years. He's very good friends with my younger brother, and so on and so forth. So he's a person, is a man of very strong principles, very strong. Ask anybody who know him, will tell you, uncompromising principles. So personally, I am reluctant to believe that he's been compromised, personally, because of what I know him for. In terms of his actions, we don't see he's become a lot tougher on the opposing sides. Yes, you will say whatever, but he's become a lot tougher. You know, he's arrested Paulo Conte, locked him up. They're investigating Anes by Kuruma. These are all things that we wanted to happen anyway. We're not criticizing it, but we're just looking at the trends. You understand? We've seen ministers of the Bio government being accused of corruption and misappropriations of things going lost, missing. We've seen Nakovac being on the spotlight for several other issues. We've seen now we've seen the First Lady's office. We've seen the office of the president go up in flames on corruption allegations. You understand? Number one, the office of the president was never investigated. That's number one. Number two, I was disappointed to see the manner in which they responded to the allegations against the office of the First Lady. I was very disappointed to see that you're going back. You're going back in time to see what is going on. Why didn't you apply that same principle in all your other investigations? Why? Why didn't you? Why is this so exceptional?
We can ask all of these questions, which are very, very necessary, relevant questions. But this is why some people believe that he's been compromised, that he's a conflicted man, because of those very questions that you're asking. Why did he do that? Why has he gone on the record, you're praising the First Lady? What about the minister and the rice? He stood at Waterloo and said, I've got all the evidence. With Anes Kuruma, it's a done deal. We know he's already blah, blah, blah. Then it turned out to be, there are many other things that we can cite. He's a human being, but the idea here is his obligation sounds like it is with the ruling party. And because as a commissioner, not only him, previous commissioners, they are not protected by the Constitution. There's no protection. So they are at the mercy of the man or the woman who appoints them.
That's true to an extent. I think you and I have a lot more power in protecting them than the president, in the sense that our support that we provide, our moral support that we provide, our media support that we provide, will force the president to do things that he doesn't want to do, will force the president to accept things that he doesn't want to accept. But mind you, this has been the only anti-corruption commissioner since he was established by Papa that has actually been forthcoming. It is the only anti-corruption commissioner that has actually tirelessly gone after people that have, even if it's one-sided, let it be done. Let something be done. If you look at it,
do you mean teachers or the politically motivated case against the previous party?
I wouldn't say it's politically motivated. You and I spoke about corruption in EBK government during the second time. I spoke about it endlessly. We've seen it endlessly. We know there was corruption.
We can agree on that, and we do agree on that. But the bottom line is, you can't say there is no corruption in NBO government. Speak, government documents reveal that 3 years of this government is even more corrupt than the last. Well, it's not being made up, it's in the documents. Well,
it depends on how you interpret it. You understand?
Okay.
I'm not saying there is no corruption.
Quickly,
I'm not saying there is no corruption. I believe there's corruption in the BO government, but I think corruption, as BO usually said, is becoming unfashionable. What do I mean about that? We are talking about it more now. From President Bio down,
that's political rhetoric. There is still over 200 billion to be accounted for within the last 3 years. 11 years of corrupt and by Koroma government never embezzled that kind of amount, according to the statistics
you're looking at it literally.
of the Office of the Auditor General.
You're looking at it literally. That's not what it says. The Auditor General said in a report that amount you're mentioning, they're saying that. So, for example, let me break it down for people to understand. If I give you, Brother Prince, I give you $1,000. I say this $1,000 for 1 year for spending on this. You spend the $1,000, but the receipt that you provide to me, now $800. You understand? You provide statement the way show how all the $1,000, including that $200 you don't present. It doesn't necessarily mean. Where Auditor General can look at that, they say, I don't receive receipts, I don't receive evidences of $800 where Brother Prince spent over this 1 year. The other $200 is still outstanding because I don't receive the receipt they yet. It doesn't mean that money was not spent in the right way. It just means that it wasn't accounted for. There's a big difference between that.
So
and I think we need to capture that.
Will that be the same, for previous audit reports regarding Aneskoma and Ikabal?
Yes,
will that be the same?
Of it will be the same. Yes,
okay. So that means the corruption. You see, we cannot defend one side and explain it nicely like you do in terms of accountability. And when it comes to the other, then certainly the process, the application of the process was different. But anyway, very interesting conversation. And Fambulem, they are allow shape this. Now the last few minutes now they on. So I don't want to let you go and not ask you about the judiciary. Obviously. I've been watching a program shortly before you come on, and I couldn't believe me yesterday I've been hearing about the judiciary. I mean, the propaganda it been so cheap and so low level that you can do your work, and the same thing we've been talk about the strategic communication team. We know say your business there is to defend government, but not the way how you defend government. You can't be so cheap in defending government as if after this government there will be no more government or done at the end of you. But we continue to see this. But in terms of the judiciary, Mr. Thomas, we've seen the case of Kamarimba Mansari. And I shall say you get a strong view on the Kamarimba Mansari case. And there are many others for justify the independence of the judiciary. We see what happened at Pandemba Road and consequently other things then we come out of them. We see a young man who was shot at the residence, outside of the residence of the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs. Instead of the young man, they received treatment and hospital for a bullet who is still getting in leg. This young man, known as the Scott, is still languishing in jail, in a maximum prison jail. Recently, we see the case of Michael Kamara, the guy where they apprehend a bow, where it not look like even an arrest, it looked like kidnapping, taped, bundled into a vehicle, threatened, intimidated. And we see that the charges that we then go arrest them for, not only indict them for, a turn out for BC, and they get 3 ibuprofen and 6 Panadol and O's. This is what they do to them. So do you wrap up this thing with this judiciary, the independence of the judiciary, and all that thing, and possibly what we can do to change the narrative?
My honest view on the judiciary is that it's a tool of oppression. The judiciary is a tool of victimization. It's a political tool. It is no longer an arm of government. It's three arms of government.
For all governments, the one now, and except some PKs going for the same.
That is a great point, Brother Prince. It is not only starting now. It is something that has been there from the Pakaba days. You understand? It's something that's been there even beyond that. You understand? More times and so on and so forth. So the judiciary has always sided with the government of the day. But when people then get killed mercilessly, like thoughtlessly, you understand? I saw the first time I live in those areas. First time I saw the Tombo incident, I cried. It was so painful to look at. You understand? The first time I saw photos of what happened in McKinney, I couldn't believe it. No matter how bad people behave, you don't treat them like that. They're citizens. The first time I saw photos of what happened, the massacre, I call it the massacre of Pademba Road. Imagine prisoners, they're the most vulnerable because they're held.
Yeah, I mean, confined in a space.
Yes, they are under controlled environment. You go there and shoot them up. No matter how they riot, you go there and shoot them up. You understand? You have party operatives, high-ranking party operatives, including Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, Lyra Isima, was there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mrs. Sawane, a non-government official,
there.
curfew hours already there.
She's there. You understand? Doing what? And then people get killed. And
presidential guards.
Yes. You understand? Nothing comes out of it. Yeah. Nothing. And the worst,
hundreds of citizens gone down in cold blood.
Prince, the worst part of it is not the killing. The worst part of it is the man who represents those people that have been killed says nothing. That's the president. The president represents those people that have been killed because the president for everybody,
sorry for waiting up again. You lost your citizens. Goodness.
Yes, reaching out and saying, look, whatever the case is, there's been a loss of life. My condolences to those families that are struggling, that are mourning. I want you to know that we're here with you. We'll investigate and make sure justice prevails.
Yeah.
That never happened. That up to now, it never happened.
Never. You understand? All the killings, the
so me, I don't want to talk about the judiciary. And when it comes to the judiciary, this time they don't even say they don't care. You look at those 10 MPs that were removed from parliament. You understand?
Yes, I mean, just they talk about
the members of parliament, the way they get so much liberties and freedoms, they've been vandalized in their own house, brutalized in their own house. Members of parliament, when they will speak about anything and get that freedom, parliament, you cannot sue them for speak in parliament. They've been arrested in parliament house.
In the house of parliament. Elected by the people.
You get somebody go exercising freedom of speech. Who's law then, as I always say, for course president? Who's law then? You understand? You study international relations, which got components of law. There's nothing about laws in Sierra Leone that talks about you cannot insult the president. You understand? Michael, when you talk about, then go arrest him and go find, these are vigilantes, go arrest them. You understand? Then can't go to police. Police then go check, say they find tramadol, relief.
Panadol.
I had relief. I had relief at my house when I was in Kono, in Freetown. I took one, the tea knocked me out, and I threw the balance. But what I'm saying to you is that why arrest? When they go sell it didn't have shop, it didn't have all them pharmacy in the cellar. It's not a prescription medication. Why arrest the guy because of that? You understand? Exactly. It's just grounds to set a bad example, a bad precedent. Like, I tell you what happened in Kono. Let me just speak on this briefly. You get SLPP members, this guy wouldn't call Tambasenesi, gang up and go to somebody else, get gangs, they go to somebody else, beat them. Then beat them and burn the house, then burn several houses. Police were there. They didn't effect any arrest.
So who is he, by the way? Who is he, by the way?
It's a defected C4C member that's defected to SLPP now.
So you understand? This cloud.
You understand? So you get this coverage.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
These guys, somebody got killed there as a result. Nothing comes out of it. What did they do? They arrested the victims. They arrested the victims. Yes, they arrested the victims. 5 of them, they brought them to Freetown. And one of them testified that during the commotion, he stabbed one of the boys and the boy died. And then, okay, well, we don't discharge this case. You might then charge them with murder. They discharged 4 of them. You understand? Then when they don't discharge them, Emerson Lamina, the speaker, then say, oh, these C4C members, then they against you, Mr. President. If you get for going to if you go to Kono, you know, will be safe. This guy should be arrested. So what did happen? They call the CID. CID go and rearrest those boys and lock them up. And now they've charged them again with the same charges. Double joke.
Mr. Emerson Lamina influenced that situation.
Of course he did.
Come out.
Yes. So you see those things happening. You understand? Yeah. Because Emerson Lamina has essentially defected to SLPP. You know, one area I remember SLPP. You've never had him criticize us, and you never do it. Imagine an opposition leader where the president praise. The president praises him. The minister, the chairman for mines committee is doing an exceptional job. This.
Yeah, these things are really serious. But sometimes you can find way little humor can come because it's so stressful. So you can find way you can end on this note where at least there is a little bit of a laugh or kill down, you know, the tension and the stress. But before I let you go, take 1 or 2 minutes and just sum up, you know, the sum total of all waiting to happen in our country. And what are your impressions? How optimistic you are, if you are, the way forward?
Look, I want to say firstly, thank you for having me on the Denen Media Empire. I'm very happy to be here. This is an incredible program. And I believe they provide a platform so they're able to share ideas, share views, find common grounds. I want viewers to understand that you know, the kind of effort, you know, easy for put this together. I want to recognize that and appreciate that. And I want viewers to know we don't come on this platform as people who know it all. We come here to share ideas and find common grounds. That's why we're here. So thank you very much for having me. Now, in terms of the summary of what we've discussed today, we don't discuss quite a range of issues. I just want to provide a perspective that I want to highlight. I know SLP people are slow and I say, hey, I want to oppose me. Only today I want to talk about in opposition. I want to pinpoint that there's next time we will try for maybe mix them up. We will talk about the positive things. You understand? We'll talk about the positive things to do with the government because there's a lot of great things that President Bill and the SLPP government,
we are looking forward to that.
has achieved. I want to talk about free quality education. I would like to talk about it's not perfect.
In fact, whilst we're on live tape, make sure your appropriate time this coming Sunday for another review. We'll like for bring you come on and we can talk about this positive ASAP.
Yes. So I mean, this is not intentional. No, you don't under me, Mr. Prince. Cook this. No, not at all. This is just now these are the hot issues, the way that they happen right now in Sierra Leone. These are the hot topic issues that are happening, and I want to acknowledge that let people know and believe and get trust that we're here to represent the interests of the masses. But that said, me and I get no trust, as you can hear from my views. I have zero trust and confidence in the judiciary. I have zero trust and confidence in the parliament, absolute zero. There is no going back. I have zero trust at the moment because we don't see over and again who suddenly deceive citizens over and again. Kambaremba is a brighter example. My heart bleeds. I will need a whole segment for discuss my disappointment in the manner in which Kambaremba has been held for a bailable offense for such a long time. And nearly 1 year, they canceled the young man, vibrant man, the only opposition who we don't get in Sierra Leone since the time of Ernest Micromine government. SLPP was nowhere to be found. Kambaremba was the voice of the opposition. Where SLPP can have power, when they capture APC Panenek, Pana Commission of Inquiry, APC drowned, they were silenced. Kambaremba was the voice of the opposition. So when they don't get rid of Kambaremba today, now they see opposition and they prompt up. Now they see APC, they prompt up. Now they see NGC, they prompt up. But they were all quiet after the elections, you understand? Because they were afraid of the government of the day. So it's really disheartening seeing Kambaremba, what he's going through. I pray for God to strengthen his family, to endure the wrath of the judiciary. What is happening in Sierra Leone is unacceptable, and we should all stand up for it because it could be you. Next time, it could be you. You know, they hold you, they lock you up in Pademba Road for 8 months. It could be you. So, but there is still hope. I can be hopeful. You and I, we are hopeful. Sierra Leone is It's a believing country. It's a country, you're either Muslim or Christian. That's how we are predominantly. We believe in something greater than ourselves. And I think that should strengthen us to hold on and believe that if we keep working together, we keep calling out the faults, the challenges, we keep recognizing the good things that are going on. We've been there. We will effect change eventually. Thank you.
Wow. What a high note for end the program on. It's been a brilliant run. Fambulem unasef unayeri for unasef. The guest comes as no is already a massive presence on social media. So Brian come on and he can chat really game with us. And we just don't extend an invitation to run for come back again. You know, now so then and out and once we catch you once, we never let you go again, and especially when you're good at the stuff what you're doing. So on this Sunday coming, what we go try for do, we go try for play around with a pro and a con. So while we can talk about government, you know, the good things, which we know there are good things happening, and we really look forward to that. We go also get another critique. We go can tell we about why they not agree with these good things when Mr. Thomas will they talk about. But Mr. Thomas, I want to say thank you for your second appearance on the Then and Now. I'm sure fans and viewers, none of them were disappointed. As you can see, the thumbs up are all flashing, and I'm sure this one goes to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Take care, brother. Yeah.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay, family. This is it. That was Aiah Pademba Thomas on Sunday, the 6th of June, 2021. But we've come to the end of this very, very brilliant program. There are more of these programs. So if you intend you want to participate, it's called the the Week in Review, in which we try to take an unbiased view about things that will happen during the course of the week. News that will make the headlines, both in print and electronic media. So if you've got any such intention, feel free, contact us, and we bring you come on and we talk about these things, okay? For the Then and Now media platform, I've been your host and presenter, Prince Emil Koma, and we will see you again at some time during this week. Thank you so much and good night to all.